Welcome to Film Talk. My name is Avivah. My guest today has spent 15 years in the Nollywood industry as a feature-length screenwriter and series screenwriter, a producer and director. His video editing, content marketing, and distribution skills could be the reason why he merits his current chairmanship position of the Lagos State Directors Guild of Nigeria. He's also a graduate of applied chemistry from the University of Uyo, Nigeria. But the love of the movie has driven him to earn several certifications from renowned institutions on different areas of filmmaking. Aniedi Awah Noba is a Film Talk guest today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Welcome, Aniedi.
Thank you.
I want to first of all ask you, what is the meaning of Noba? Doesn't sound like an Akwa Ibom because I know you're from Akwa Ibom.
Okay, this is going to be the very first time somebody is ever asking me.
And even I might understand Awak.
Awah.
Awah.
Yeah. It's
Noba.
Aniedi Awah Noba. Noba is actually a nickname. Okay, it's this far back as when I was in the university. I was a journalist on campus.
Okay.
So I had this column that was called No One But Aniedi.
Okay.
So from there, that was the origin. Before I knew what was happening, people started calling the column Noba. And it became a name, yeah. Stuck from then till now.
So you were a troublemaker on campus, writing about all the innuendos.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're going to be focusing on two stories that Aniedi has filmed. The first one is called Do We Call It Love? The log line or dramatic summary will sound like single returning mother of two must prove her fidelity and survive prejudice and discrimination from her own family and prospective husband after Kelleck's sexual encounter with his blood brother. This thing has been recurring. If you go to Facebook, you see a lot of things like this.
Exactly.
So it's a social conflict and problem. So the story is like a young lady traveled abroad after her parents sold all they had to sponsor the trip. But she came back with two children without a husband. And now, so she suffers discrimination and, after prejudice. She's treated like a leper everywhere she goes until she meets a man who takes a liking to her. However, the man, like it happens on Facebook, I see a lot of them, doesn't want to marry her again because the junior brother or the elder brother, paid for her services as a hookup girl or a hookup woman.
Yeah.
So the second story is called Aviva. The young and beautiful, vulnerable woman may not survive romance with her alter ego because though recruited by disgruntled office subordinates to punish her for mistreatment, is a reckless destroyer. Imagine recruiting somebody to love someone and the person becomes something else. So, and the synopsis is that Aviva is a young and beautiful lady who is well known for her rudeness to everyone. She then meets and falls in love with Charles, another extremely rude individual. What she doesn't know is that Charles was set up into her life by her staff who want to punish her for treating them badly. What they did not expect was that Charles has a dark mind and has a desire to cause havoc. The question is, will Aviva, that is caught in the middle, survive? She's in the middle of all these floods, So we're going to, my first question, let's just discuss about logline and all that. I don't know if people can really distinguish between logline and synopsis, because logline is a dramatic summary or one-line summary, which is quite different. A lot of people write log lines like synopsis. Some write like, some people even write, for me, I write 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs for synopsis. Some people write synopsis, they write maybe 30 pages. But the ideal thing is to write, if you're writing a synopsis like from 5 or 1 to 5 pages, and the treatment should be like 1 to 12 pages, which is very common. But the question I want to ask, these are 2 stories that you produced.
Yeah.
One is about somebody, suffering social prejudice because of what is very, 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 common now on Facebook. I just watched one about an hour ago when somebody, a woman, conceives for another man while living in the husband's house. And these so-called comedians or whatever you want to call the comedians, on online Facebook comedians. Now she contacted one of them, and the guy took her to the man, and we eventually discovered that she actually had a baby for somebody else. while living in the man's house. So, but she did not tell the guy she took to beg the man that, look, I already had a baby for somebody else. So these are very serious problems nowadays in Nigeria. I would say we're also beginning to copy America. People are not fulfilling relationships. People prefer to be single mothers. People prefer to be single fathers. And at the end of the day, if you don't bring up your children well, between a mother and and a mother and father, the child might not behave well. True. So give us insight into your movie's main characters. The first one is,
Do We Call It Love?
Do We Call It Love? And the second one is Aviva.
Okay, so let me start with how I like my characters to be, generally. So I like characters that are well positioned in a story. Well positioned in the way that once you see them, you know that this is the main character. Then every other person revolves around them. Yeah, and I also like characters that, my characters must elicit emotions. It's either they make you laugh, or they make you cry, or you hate them, or you like them. Because these are key elements you must have in a movie. One thing I would like to state clearly is that there is nothing you really want to do on earth today as a movie that people have not really seen or heard before. And that is why if you look at the Hollywood now, they are really doing futuristic movies more now.
Okay.
Because there's this dearth of stories from them. It's more futuristic. What will happen in the in the next 1,000 years, or alien stories and all of that. We are fortunate and blessed to have abundance of stories here in Africa, which we are not really tapping into. Okay. So filmmaking is a Western concept, but storytelling is actually African. Because we used to have a lot of our great-grandfathers who would sit kids down and tell a lot of stories. So we have the stories, and I've keyed into that strongly to make sure that my stories are my key strength. Okay. I'm not too, I technically, yes, it's important, but if you look at the people you're doing films for, 99.9% of them are not filmmakers. Okay. So they are not really interested in how your camera is moving, how it's going up and down. What they just want to see is a good picture, clean picture, good audio, and a very, very good, engaging story.
So in the case of Do We Call This Love and Aviva, can you give us a picture? I know in the case of Do We Call It Love, it's about a woman who comes back and doesn't, get accepted. Then the second one, Aviva, is a bad boss lady who treats other workers as well. Now, if you want to, what's the name of the main character in Do We Call It Love?
Do We Call It Love? Her name is Jane.
Jane.
Yeah.
Now, the next one,
Aviva.
Aviva.
Yes.
Okay, now, can you tell us a little bit about Jane and Aviva?
Okay, so Jane is a young lady who had a dream to travel out because they were poor. Okay, not really poor, but middle class family, and she was the only child of the parents. So they virtually sold everything. The only thing the parents did for themselves was that they secured a loan to get a small apartment for themselves. Okay. Because they mentioned in the movie that if we had not even gotten this one now for ourselves, everything would have been zero. So she traveled out, fell in love, and she fell in love with a criminal, a drug dealer, in Nigeria, but a drug dealer over there, and the guy got killed, and they were deported. So the very first scene in the movie is where we see her coming inside the house, and the parents are excited and everything. The father said, in pidgin, father said, where all your load day? Let's go and bring them in. But the father, she didn't come back home with anything. Whereas they had stories of people who traveled, spent less years than she did over there, and came back with a lot of things. So that was where our problem started. Okay. The parents were not willing to, they transferred the issues they had with her to even their grandchildren. They didn't want to even see the children and everything. And what she needed to do now was she needed a lot of strength, because even her best friend did not want her to come close to her family because you are a returnee from a lot of stories, people were spreading things about her, so nobody really wanted to touch her. And she went into a bar to get drunk, to get wasted. And then this young guy walks in, pays for her drinks, takes her home, to sleep with her. She was drunk. The other brother came into the house, the owner of the house came in and saw her, and automatically concluded she was a hookup girl. Now the question is, how did the other brother who came in, did they ever meet the girl before this other one brought in? No. He had never known her before. It was the same night the guy brought her to the house to have sex with her that the elder brother came in and met them. So, because the younger brother had a history of always going out to bring different women, he automatically concluded that this must be one of those. So what's the connection? Where did they fall in love? Okay, good. So when the guy came in, he instantly asked the woman to leave. Okay. Now the woman was this Jane was beginning to get her bearings a bit, and the woman she heard she was being called a prostitute. It made her very angry. So she narrated everything that happened, where she met the guy and everything. So this, and again, this guy was in the process of securing a party's ticket for election. Okay. So he did not want any kind of scandal around him. He knew that if the godfather in the party gets to find out there's a woman here, there'll be trouble. So that very evening, he decided that because it was late, he decided to go and drop the woman, since where she was staying was not really that far. On getting to the grandparents' house where the children are, there was commotion. The grandparents wanted to throw the kids. In fact, they had thrown the kids out. The boy was about 12, the young girl was about 8. They were ready to throw them out. So, you know the way life plays now. He decided, okay, I don't want to know what the situation is right now, but just come, let me give you a place to stay for tonight. Tomorrow, you leave. So from the night they came in, talk, list to talk. And so now this is one bit of issue in the story. This young man was given an order by his party to get a wife. Okay. Before the primaries, get somebody who will be engaged to, because the society would not like to have a single person come into office and all of that. So he now decided to appoint this lady
as his wife.
No, not his wife. No, he appointed the lady as his advisor, so that the party, because the arrangement was, we'll just give you any lady. You choose the one you want. Get married or get engaged to the person. Once you win the elections, the person can go. Okay. But just win the election first. You can have it do una quarrel, una divorce. So she was supposed to be the advisor or the advisor. So she was the one that was looking at the women, and in the course of doing all of these things, they fell in love with each other. You understand? So the younger brother was really against it. He really wanted the lady to leave because he had somebody he wanted to plant in the brother's life. Because the brother was really withdrawing himself from him since he was wayward. He wanted somebody, a lady that would be in his brother's life so they can have easy access to his funds from him. So those were just some of the intricacies.
So who would you really call the antagonist? The junior brother?
The junior brother, yes.
The antagonist.
And the grandparents.
Did she ever have somebody like a mentor?
No.
I'm asking these questions because when we are storytelling, we should, if we want to really give a story a rounded characterization, we should look at the protagonist, the antagonist, a mentor. Even there is what is called the attractor, and there is what is called the trickster. The trickster is the one who tricks the main character, the protagonist, into making mistakes. You understand? And two characters can play more than one role. These are character functions that we need to, So these are things that we could easily be using in our stories in Nollywood to make them.
You think we don't use them?
But we don't use them recognizably. That's what I'm trying to say. The producer himself, the storyteller, has to understand that these are characters that we have to use so that they play their roles very well. That's why those are called character functions. Okay. Those are called character functions. You have the protagonist, you have the antagonist, you have the mentor, you have the trickster, you have the attractor. These are 5 solid characters, few characters. But in other characterization, you have people like the protagonist, the main character, the sidekick, who believes in what the protagonist is doing. Sometimes you have who is called the skeptic, who doesn't believe in what the protagonist does. Yeah. Then you have the trickster, you have the guardian, and so on and so forth. So in a way, you might have up to 8 or 9 characters in a story, but if you confine yourself to 5, it makes the
functions. Yeah. Yeah, I think for you to understand the entire functions of every character in the movie, you actually need to sit and see the movie. You understand? Because once you see the movie, you find out that almost all of the functions you're mentioning now, you find them. But yes, but the key, there's in every story you're telling, you must have the key story and the story in a story.
Yeah, I understand.
Then you must also have your key characters, and the key characters cannot carry all the functions at once.
No, they can't. Sometimes you might have a one-character story. You believe me, might have a one character. So imagine an advert. You have a protagonist. Imagine Genevieve Naji is trying to convince you to buy a car, a futuristic car. Now she's the one who's acting out the advert. Now, all these character elements can play in Genevieve.
Of course.
Because there and there we say this is called the grand argument. Should I buy the car? No.
Why?
Why should I buy the car?
Yeah. What for?
What for? These are character functions that really play out in the advert. So, yeah. So my next question, what are relationship dynamics between characters in respective stories? We are just talking about it now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Aviva herself.
Okay, Aviva.
We have so many Avivas in Nigeria today.
Yes, yes. But there's always, most times, when people display some characteristics, there must always be a cause.
Okay.
Aviva, we just see her being very rude, extremely rude, unnecessarily rude to her PA, to her staff, and everybody.
That might come from the backstory.
Yes. So now she has this assistant in the office that she sleeps with. Okay. What she does is, go to the house and wait for me. This is a big staff in her company. Okay, I think the guy is the accountant. Go home, I'm waiting. Go now, 6 o'clock, I want you, all this kind of stuff. And the guy's actually enjoying it anyway because he has nothing to lose, So one particular day, he really treated the guy badly. The guy felt very bad and decided to hire somebody. But we only get to know that at the end. We just see this young man who starts trying to get into her life, small, buys her something, she throws it away, gets to her house, and a lot of things before. It took a long time before she finally started melting or coming down from that high horse. And then just when she found out that she was in love with this guy, the guy now moved to her PA. It's just like bypassing her now to start showing direct, like she's there and the guy is showing interest in the PA directly in front of her. So it caused a lot of problems until we now got to really realize that this guy did a research. Okay. Really serious. Immediately, he researched the girl, researched her father, and he got to find out that PA, the lady everybody knows as a PA, is actually Aviva's biological sister. Oh. Biological sister in quotes. So what really happened was that Aviva's father after getting married to the mother, the woman had an affair and gave birth to that daughter, yes. And when the woman died, the woman actually owned the wealth of the family. Okay. She willed everything to that PA. Okay. But now Aviva and the father don't want the girl to know, the PA to know. Oh, okay. So now the woman added a clause in the will that if the PA should die before 40, everything that was willed to her goes to charity. That's why the girl is alive. They would have killed her. They would have found a way to kill her. But because she has to live till 40, they have to keep maintaining her. The girl knows Aviva is her older sister. But they made her understand that, look, the only way you can survive in this world is for you to pretend to be a PA. So this guy got to find out one way or the other. He found out about all of this, and he now wants a piece of the cake. He wants to get something on them to expose them, and so the father will come down. The father was like in a faraway city, will come down, a lot of issues will come until everything will be exposed, and the father will go to jail, Aviva will go to jail. Then the girl, this PA will now know that, okay, I'm the owner of everything. This guy, the guy that was trying to get into their lives will want to come back, but of course Aviva is going to bounce all of them. The Aviva's PA is going to bounce all of them, and as I ended.
Some of these Nollywood stories, I usually like to call them urban stories. Okay. Because, they really, really depict lifestyles in urban cities, Yeah. And sometimes I wonder, why is it that we cannot speak? We've heard that you are a TV series producer, writer.
Yes, yes.
Such stories should be able to, last long. And maybe 3 seasons, 4 seasons. In TV series, this is a very fantastic story. What I'm saying is good because, the issue of willing, falling in love, and turning around to hurt somebody to get a piece of the cake is a fantastic story. It's a lot of conflict will arise. Yeah. Not even
a whole lot.
That's a basin of conflict.
As a matter of fact, that Aviva is one film I submitted to a network. I don't want to mention their name now. A very big network, and I got 100% mark first time. You score 80, but we got 100% over that from story and the general picture and everything. Yeah. So you're talking about extending, making it longer. That's where budget comes to play.
You see, one thing I always advise producers, Nigerian producers, you produce Aviva, fantastic story. Yeah. You get a recommendation from a network. Yeah. What stops you from going abroad to look for money? You have a recommendation.
To look for money to...
Abroad.
Okay, abroad? Okay.
Yes. You see, I don't know if you guys have realized that right now, they are crushing on us. True. Nigerians say they are rushing us. They rush me.
They rush us.
They are rushing us.
True.
And when I hear Nollywood producers limiting themselves, I pinch myself. I wish I had a span of activities as a producer director. I've been writing screenplays, but I love writing outside Nollywood. And I've seen a lot of opportunities. Like Nigeria has a lot of relationship in terms of film commission, relationship with countries like UK, America. If you explore all these avenues, you could get, this is a good story that could give you dollars and take you away from Nigeria.
True.
So now let's see where we've sort of explained the personal values of the lead characters in both stories. And you've just mentioned Aviva coming from a dark background. Can we have a little bit of, okay, we also saw, what is her name? What is her name again? Jane. Yeah. Coming from a dark background. Can you now summarize, let's compare the two characters in terms of their backgrounds, because these are backstories that actually color your perception of the world. Yeah. Because they usually say that the moment you see a priest in a brothel, you don't know whether you went to preach to.
Of course.
You think until you have conflict.
True.
So the moment you drop blue inside water, the blue would spread, and it's not good again for drinking. Yeah. Like it happened when God poisoned the rivers in Egypt and people couldn't. So let's have a little bit of insight into the two characters and where they're coming from.
Yeah. If I compare the two characters, Jane had a lot of love. Okay. Her parents acted out of love.
Yes.
Because when we uploaded a movie on YouTube, we had a lot of comments from people, and some people were like, "Why are the parents so harsh to the point that they even transferred this whole thing to their grandchildren?" And I am a parent. Okay, I have kids, and you know how it is with kids when you just have to do what you must do.
Yes.
Whether it is good for you or it's not, whether you're tired or you're weak. Once it's the kids, you have to go all out. So the parents acted out of love, and they made her know before she left that, see why we are doing this. It's not as if she didn't know.
For everybody's good.
We are doing this for you to go. It's not for everybody, for them.
Okay.
For you to go make money and come back and take us out of poverty.
Yes.
So she had a clear picture of why she was traveling. So for her to come back empty-handed, the parents had every right to be disappointed. Now the problem with the parents was, how far do you take that disappointment?
I think too much of
high
expectations.
Yes.
But my question would be, she went abroad. How careful can a woman or a man ever be to know the kind of character or man or woman he or she falls in love with?
Good.
That's a good question.
Yes.
How careful can you ever be?
You don't know who you fall in love with. You can't design the person you're going to fall in love with now. You understand? Love just comes once it's there. You're the only person who will know the reason why you're with that person. But she came back. Now the mother asked her, okay, you're coming back empty-handed, not just yourself alone now.
With children.
2 kids that you never told us you had. You never told us you had 2 kids. In fact, before she came back, the parents had not spoken to her, had not heard from her for like a year. Oh. Yeah, because that was the period she wasn't even married to the guy, she was like dating. You know the way it's over there now, they call them partners. They were partners and the guy died in jail. And they had to deport her back to Nigeria. So she started from a place of love, got into bad times, required a lot of strength after coming back home to be able to battle everything. Because at the point, she was the central figure. She had this guy that she loved, who loved her. She had the younger brother against her. She had her parents against her.
But she's the protagonist. So
yes. Okay. So she was just in the center. She needed a lot of strength.
Many conflicts surrounding
a lot of strength to be able to battle all of these things. And at the end of the day, she also needed to prove to this young man that I actually do love you. And this young man had to make a decision to take her and the 2 kids. Because this is somebody who had never been married before, who does not have kids. And again, he's going into the public fair where he's going to be a politician. So what if he loses based on that? What if the society says, why would you marry a woman? Why would you be with a woman? So those were the issues that we had to handle. Now, Aviva, on the other hand, came from a background that she didn't create for herself in any way. The father manipulated her from beginning. You know, it's like having 2 kids now. You have 2 kids, and then you make one hate, you can make one hate the other one.
Of course it happens.
From beginning.
Yeah.
Because children are very impressionable. Whatever you start putting into them is what they take. So the father manipulated her, made her hate
the other one.
and she grew up like that. And then she suffered. Okay, what actually made her start becoming rude? She needed to build a wall
Around her.
from people because she had so much that she was hiding, that she knew. So she felt that if I become too close to somebody, one day I feel go talk. So in order not to, so she had no friends, but she had money because she was doing business that was working. So she built that wall. And the moment this young man came, what this young guy did was, he's a scammer. He's a scam artist, and scam artists actually study people. And because I'm not in love with you, I just look for a weak point to come in. So every time she slams the guy with anger, she slams the guy smiles and goes. Other people react with annoyance, but she smiles. But this guy smiles. So it's like, I keep treating you badly and you're still smiling, and little by little the eyes keeps getting thawing out.
In Shakespearean, they call it taming of the shrew.
Okay.
Taming of the shrew. Very interesting. I mean, I sort of love this Aviva story. I keep telling you, you need to shoot it out.
No, but I think, don't worry, the executive producer will watch this and then we'll think about how we can expand it.
Okay.
Yes, we'll think about how we can do that.
I'm still talking to Aniedi Awah Noba, one of the Nollywood urban storytellers. I call it urban storytelling. And director of What Are We? Sorry, that was the other film.
Yes. Do we call it Love?
Do we call it Love
And Aviva.
And Aviva. Discussing today on Film Talk. Let's go to the next question. I mean, we've seen the emotional dynamics, but let's be very descriptive about the emotional dynamics in, do we call this Love and Aviva? Can you talk about emotional dynamics so that you mentioned the emotions in because
Yes.
emotions are very important ingredients in filmmaking or
Exactly.
in telling stories in film. Very, even the ordinary story.
Yeah.
Because I mean, all of us are human beings, are emotional beings, and it kind of impact me. Sometimes when I write, I shed tears. Sometimes when people watch movies, they shed tears because it suddenly reflects who they are. And every movie is supposed to offer a solution to the person watching the movie to see how they can solve the problem. So let's go into the emotional dynamics of the two in both stories.
Every movie shouldn't offer a solution, no.
Well,
Yeah, because we have class of movies called feel-good films.
Okay.
Nigerian Africans like movies to be good and bad, and good win every time. Africans like that. It's a culture with us.
Okay.
But sometimes you can just watch a movie for just seeing the film. We call them feel-good films.
Okay.
They don't have anything. It's just like let me give you an instance. The parodies.
Okay.
Parodies now. Like let me think of a very successful film that has nothing to do with comedy, and then somebody will just bring like 4 or 5 big films that did very well that everybody know, and write parodies around them. Okay. You just make funny things around there.
Okay.
I just feel they're not supposed to teach you any lesson or make you learn anything good. Just feel good films. All right, so now looking at the emotional dynamics of the film, like I mentioned earlier that every single character that I put down must elicit an emotion, because emotions are the only thing you convey from a film to the viewer.
Okay.
Emotions are the reasons why people see a film. I see a film, you're my brother, but I see you in a movie killing somebody and you come to the other and I say, you this wicked person. It's emotional.
Like they did to Kana.
Yes. Till tomorrow, Kana is seen as a ritualist. That means he actually did those parts, those characters very well.
Them.
So when people see him walk past, the first thing that comes to their mind is
ritualist.
But he's their friend, though. He's my friend. But the first thing, so that means the character was actually well done. So a lot of tears in Do We Call It Love? If like I keep judging from the comments people made on YouTube, and a lot of tears. I had somebody from Colombia, a Colombian, who was writing about how the story, the way the grandparents were behaving, actually mirrored our own life.
Oh, no.
That she was kicked out because our own parents treated. Our father treated our grandparents poorly. So when she grew up, they kicked her out and said because of what your father did and all of that. So it's kind of it was relatable to her and all of that. So we had the issue of the woman, of Jane, who had to take care of 2 kids, no job. There was a scene where the son was sick, and she quickly called for the parents, and they rushed in. And do you know why they rushed into the room? They said they thought the house was on fire. When they found out that the son was sick, they were really, really angry with her for calling them because the son. They were very angry. And then there was a scene where she went to the kitchen to make tea. She made tea for the kids, and the mother came. I said, "Why are you using my gas? I bought it. Why don't you have gas?" Picked the tea, poured the tea. The grandson came and said, "Grandma, why are you doing this?" She took the bread and squished it, then poured water to make sure that it was no longer edible. Those were really emotional scenes. Even while we were filming, there was the point that the mother, Choma Nwosu, had to director, please, I don't think I can. I said, this is not about you.
Thank you for mentioning the player of that character.
Yes.
We come to all those.
The grandmother,
Okay.
Choma Nwosu,
Okay.
was like, director, this is too much. I can't. Why would I let them even eat the bread? I said, no, they won't eat this bread. We need to sing this thing home. Because another thing we're trying to also make everybody understand is this. The grandparents and Jane's parents had the right to be angry. They had the right to be angry.
And you know where the emotional thing will come. Your grandparents or your grandparents, they're treating a grandchild like that. I remember when I was a little boy, my maternal grandmother was like a goddess to me.
Yes.
So for a grandparent to mistreat a grandchild, well, that's another level of
emotion. You see, so this is what I like to do in my story. I like to go against what everybody, because I always say this thing. When you do a movie the way everybody expects, why would they now want to see the movie?
No.
You have to find ways to now do things that will make people argue. And this is it. If you watch most Hollywood movies, they don't care how you feel with the way they end their movies. Check Hollywood film. They just end their movie how they want to end it. It's not left for you to disagree or agree. So a good film should make people, after seeing it, go back and talk and start arguing. Why did they do this? Why did they? And you see all of those comments, and we try to engage people. And I tell them, look, I'm a parent. I think I will be angry if I invest so much in a kid and it goes against what we had already agreed. Because this lady left Nigeria not as a child. She was a full-fledged adult.
Okay.
And came back with, so the parents had the right to be angry. But now what we treated in the story was the depth of the anger, where you took the anger to the point of transferring it on the grandchildren.
That's right.
And even, it was really, really that bad. But we needed to make it that bad for people to talk about it. And my mom actually saw the film and then called me and said, who taught you this kind of wickedness? This kind of thing that you wrote here? People will watch it now and be thinking it's something, something that has happened to you. Maybe your mother, I'm actually your kid. So that touched me.
Yeah.
That she would, because she sees a lot of my films.
Yeah.
And she has never called me to ask
make comments.
But this one actually made her call me. Like, where did you get all these things that you were talking about? Where did you say? I said, no, it's just a work of fiction. The characters are purely fictional, but we cannot say they are not happening in the society. They are happening.
Sure, they're happening.
Even though the characters are fictional.
You see some things happening on social media, you ask yourself,
how?
How could people
do this kind of a thing? But they're happening. In fact, in most movies, we can't explore the depth of some of the things happening in society because you might be censored.
Yeah.
You won't be able to push them out the exact way they are. You understand? Right. Yeah. Right. So that is we played the whole lot. Then on the issue of the young man that fell in love with Jane, he had a lot of personal issues. Number one, he was anti-marriage.
Womanizer.
But now, no, he wasn't really a womanizer. The parents were always fighting when he was a kid. So he saw a lot of people fighting too. This is a backstory now for him.
Yeah.
He grew up seeing people, like there's a scene where he was telling Jane that, look, there was this uncle in my area that I knew who left Lagos on a Sunday and came back the following Sunday with a wife, a young girl. And everybody celebrated, we were all happy. And 3 months later, they started fighting. They fought till the lady got pregnant and they fought till she delivered. And they were still living together. So he was anti-marriage because of that. It was like, okay, even if I want kids, let me just have 1 or 2 and I'm off. But now his political party insisted that you must get a woman. We won't project a single man for this position. You have to get a woman. Even if it's just an engagement, then later 2 of you can separate, and then you now met. So this Jane, so he had a lot of issues, and now the person he now decided to go for is a single mother, a single parent with 2 kids, who had this toga around of coming from abroad without a husband, and so many things. Will it be okay for his political career? He also had to consider all of that, and it disturbed him a whole lot. You understand? So those were the plays on emotion.
I would say primarily, if you look at the, do we call this love? A woman in that kind of ringed in with a lot of conflicts simply has an audience that will identify with are women.
Plenty.
Women.
Plenty.
So you harvest a lot of emotions.
Plenty.
You harvest a lot of emotions.
Yes. Yes.
And in the second story, Aviva, it is happening. A lot of women call themselves boss ladies, not because they want to be boss ladies, because they have backstories that influence them. That when they're in a situation, they can even kill you.
Yes.
And tell you, I'm sorry, I killed you.
Yeah, true. True. You know, so like in Aviva's case, what we did at the end of the day was to make everybody understand that Aviva did not build herself to be who she ended up being. Somebody who she trusted, somebody who was supposed to teach her better, actually manipulated her for his own gain. Even though Aviva went to jail, you know, because legally, you know, most times when we do, when we do our films here, I have to make people understand when you do your film, there are certain things you can't do in our movies, like if you must pass through, if you must take that film to censors. Let me give you an instance. The authorities do not really like criminals dying in movies. They don't.
Why?
They prefer them going to jail.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've had a movie where a father and son were molesting young children, little kids. Like all these kids that sell granite, they will bring them to them, molest them. Then they now had this maid who now exposed them. So when the maid exposed them, she gave them a drink. Fed them drinks, and they died.
Okay.
So I was told, no, don't make them die. So at the end of the film, they died, but you will see graphics that the police, the paramedics came, took them, brought them back, and they spent time in jail. So they prefer criminals to actually face jail terms than dying through things like poison and all of that. So those were just the things that we had to do.
Now let's go back to the next question. I was like, who played Aviva? Who played Jane?
Jane was played by Aniedi Awah.
Do I know her?
Yes, you would know her. Once you Google her, you will know her. Okay. Then Aviva was played by Bimbo Ademoye. I don't know if you know Bimbo Ademoye.
I hardly know.
Okay, Bimbo Ademoye is in Anikulapo. I don't know if you know Anikulapo.
Oh, that
the young lady,
okay,
that played with Kuleremi.
Okay,
that's Bimbo.
She played Aviva.
She played Aviva. And she delivered top-notch performance.
I mean, those are good players in Nollywood.
Yeah.
And let's talk about guardians or mentors in the. Did somebody like Jane have any person advising her? Did Aviva have anybody apart from the father that was giving her the evil plans to execute?
The father was, you know, the way men are most times. If I will use myself as an example, when I was about to get married, my dad was not really interested in who I was getting married to. The man had no, just bring the person, come. But he used to tell us then that if you bring a goat, and he asks the goat, you go marry, he goes say, man, he say you go marry, because he's not going to, So men are a bit like that. It was my mom who was like, where is she from, all those kind of questions. So Jane's father was not really, he was disappointed. But at some point, there was a time when he was asking the wife, are you sure this thing we are doing to this girl is really, he was thinking about it. Don't you think we should just, let her go, let's take the kids and stay. And the mother was like, no, if we don't show her our displeasure, she will do more. She will go out and bring another kid, another child, and we will still continue.
But I would think the father would be the one that would be hard-hearted.
No. In this story, it was hard in front of Jane, but when they are together, him and the wife...
Who played the role?
The wife was Choma Nwosu.
And the grandfather was...
This man will kill me for forgetting his name now. Was a very prominent actor.
Okay.
Then Uzo Arukwe was the young guy, the politician guy that... Then in Aviva, Kuleremi was the guy that came into Aviva's life to cause problems. Yeah.
I think, considering your character, the politician, I don't know, would there ever be a time when Nollywood people would do movies to reprimand politicians, to teach them how to behave well?
We have a lot of movies like that too.
Really?
Maybe it is not a core theme. Like it's not a core theme. Like we want to show that this politician is bad. But in the middle of the movie, we try to do things like that.
I see movies as, elements of social engineering.
True.
And I would be very excited to see, because let me not just go into politics, but then in the immediate past, we've seen what has happened. And we're still, carrying the fear that if the media, for example, doesn't battle politicians, it might end up very bad in Nigeria.
We'll be in a big mess. Everybody actually needs somebody to make you know that if you mess up, there's a problem. There will be a problem somewhere. Everybody needs that. We do that with Nollywood. Just that we don't. Maybe I would say we don't really concentrate and make that a core theme. But in most of our movies, we do that. We talk about police corruption, brutality, and general corruption. We do that.
How would both stories, characters, experiences impact your audiences?
For Jane, a single mother, she wants the best for her kids. She is in a society that is not ready to accept her wholeheartedly, immediately. So she needs to prove herself. You know, one of the things she did that was really beautiful was that she refused to accept handouts from this young guy. Even though he gave her accommodation, she refused. She wanted to do something for herself. And that gave her strength. That made her appealing. And I actually made that character like that because I don't have an issue with somebody being a single parent. Because most times, you can't judge totally. You can only explain your own situation.
Circumstances.
You can't judge a person's circumstances totally until you know. And in fact, even if, you know one funny thing about, if I tell you something about myself now, about me now, you might tell another person what I told you, but from your own understanding, which might be slightly different. So those are the things that so for Jane, we tried to make her a very strong character, a very strong woman who was ready to battle anything, who understood her mistakes. She never came out to say, why are you blaming me? It's not. She understood the fact that she erred before her parents. She accepted the
And probably was out to prove them wrong.
Yes. She understood, she accepted her blame. She tried to beg her parents, but they refused. And then she now understood that she had to wake up and do something different from what everybody
perceiving
about her. And at the end of the day, it worked out. So she was, I like my character to be, she was a very, very strong woman because she battled a whole lot. So the message to viewers out there, women out there who might be in her position is, you need to be strong. You are going to face battles. So do not expect that people will just say, oh, okay, it's fine. No. So don't, I have women who are in bad marriages and who want out, but they are scared. So if you come out, understand that it's not going to be easy.
Yes.
You're not going to have a bed of roses. You're going to have, even from your own immediate family, you're going to have a lot of trouble. But if you're strong, mentally particularly, not physically, mentally, you will surely overcome. And that's what happened with Jane.
Thank you so much. That's very executive. On Film Talk today, I'm still having Aniedi Awah Noba. Noba is a nickname. A troublesome name. One of Nollywood's urban storytellers, director of Do We Call This Love? And Aviva. That's it. So let's go to the next question. Now, what's the genre of this year movies? The genre of this year two movies?
You see this question that you've asked now, it's a question that I always have a little issue with. There is no...
You don't want to be glad.
No. It's not. The thing is that there is no movie that is a single genre. It's not possible. I discussed it with somebody recently, and I sent in a script, a commissioning agent, I sent in an editor, I sent in a script, and she was insisting, what genre? I said, I'll call it a romantic thriller. And she said, no, I have to be specific. And I asked her, what would you call Titanic? She said, romance. I said, beautiful. But we had a lot of action in it, where the ship was caving in. Lots of action that would have required a different set of training for the actors, a different set of training for the technical guys.
So would you call that tragic?
So would you call... No, the thing is, you won't just say it was just... You can call that a romantic, romance, action, thriller, and all of that. So basically, it's a drama.
Okay.
Basically, the two stories are drama.
Dramas, okay.
But they are driven by romance. They are driven by
tragedies,
comedy.
Yeah.
That in these two stories, loads of comedy.
Really?
Yes.
I watched this thing. I watched this latest film. I interviewed the guy here too.
Honeycomb?
No. Honey Money.
Honey Money. Sorry, Honey Money.
Yeah.
Honey Money. Yeah.
And a lot of people were laughing because there was a lot of comedy involved. I also watched a documentary recently at the French Cultural Center, whom a friend produced, and people were laughing at the misfortune of the characters, documentary characters, and I took the microphone and stood and asked them, man, this illegal migration is a very serious issue. And these people you are laughing at, they're in trouble, and you are laughing. And the director stood up and explained that, I make movies, at the end of the day, you can look at the movie anyhow you like, but since people laugh, it is their interpretation. And so when we were going, and I asked we were three of us, and I said, if you screen the same movie in a detention camp in Libya, do you think people will laugh?
No, people will not laugh. But do you know something? The thing is, most times, one of the problems with some of our movies, particularly when they are targeted at this issue now, issue-based films, like you want to talk about teenage pregnancy, you might make the mistake of making it a lecture in a classroom.
Okay.
If you don't bring in some of these elements,
for people to laugh.
You understand? Like when I mentioned comedy, the scene where this lady was breaking the, making the bread unedible and all of that, was funny. Like you would laugh, but at the same time you feel the pain of the whole thing. So yeah, and when I do any movie that I write and I am directing, there must be almost all the elements that you need. There must be a bit of action. There must be laughter. Comedy and all of that. But dramas driven by all of these other elements. So for both films, genre generally drama, but driven by a lot of other elements that you find to make it a complete story at the end of the day.
I like that. That shows some level of a high level of versatility.
Thank you.
Do you see your specialty in urban filmmaking, making statements, offering solutions to relationship issues in Nigeria? This is about romance and relationship, but taking away from romance and relationship, can you use the urban filmmaking entails a lot? We've just seen the coming out of Gangs of Lagos.
Yeah.
We've seen Honey Money.
Yeah.
We've seen Shanty Town.
Yeah.
These are all urban movies that seem to provide solutions to issues that abound in our urban centers.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself in that class?
Yes. But first of all, let me correct, because you've been mentioning urban.
Okay.
Okay, so let me correct something. I tell my stories in a way that anywhere you are in the world, you will know it's a film by a Nigerian first and an African.
Okay.
First of all. So in my choice of costumes, I do not like, in most films, I always complain about this, and I tell my costume designers from the beginning, every Nigerian must have different kind of clothes in his or her wardrobe. So don't start this man with a T-shirt and he's on a T-shirt all through the film. And then the next thing you see him with a shirt. Have a bit of African print, native. This, make him a complete individual, a complete character. So when I started filming, I did a lot of what you would call epic. When I started directing, spent a lot of years in Ibadan doing filming. I actually started with the Yoruba. I started doing Yoruba films first.
Yoruba wood.
Yes. Spent about 6 months in Ibadan those years, doing a lot of Yoruba films, because I speak Yoruba and I was born here in Lagos. Then went to Enugu and did a lot of cultural films. So what drives my production is the market.
Okay.
So I'm doing a lot of urban stories today because there's a demand for it, because I'm also a businessman. I won't put my money where it will come out. So it's not just about being urban. It's about doing a good film at the end of the day.
So you go into cultural collage.
Yes. So even in these urban stories, like in my stories, you will hardly see somebody eating rice. I really don't like it. I prefer people eating our local dishes.
Yeah. When I interviewed Joke Silva on this, I told her that one of the things that really interests me in Yoruba movies is that you can never miss the Yoruba movies where you're unlikely to see a what do you call
Amala.
it? Amala. So,
yes.
Yeah, Amala.
Yeah. No, it's important. Let me just say something. It's important that we start understanding the fact that our strength is our culture. That's one thing we don't understand.
Yeah.
Our strength is our culture. And you cannot give somebody what the person already has in abundance. Let me give you an instance. I had a chat with a white American woman who has never been to Africa. She owns a very big salon in New York where people come. But do you know the only movies she watches? Nigerian films. She knows titles of movies than even you, within Nigeria here, you understand? And then we're having a conversation with one, because what actually connected us was I did a film, an epic, a village setting film where a woman changed her husband to a tuber of yam. She belonged to a cult where anytime your husband messes up, just convert him to something. So the woman changed her husband to a tuber of yam, now mistakenly dropped the man amongst other tubers of yam. So didn't know which one was not, when she wanted to change the man back. So normally, when she's angry, she just change the man to a tuber of yam. Then when she's not happy, the man will not know that I spent time as a tuber of yam. Now, she needed to now start cutting yam, the different, so the woman asked,
that is serious dilemma.
Yes. So that was the point, that was the film I did that made this woman, she saw the film, contacted me on Facebook, and we chatted. And I now suggested a couple of titles, and she said, are they contemporary film? I said, yes. No, she doesn't watch. She said, we don't know how to kiss in movies. That we're terrible kissers in movies, so she doesn't see our films, and we don't know how to shoot. That then she said a 7-year-old son can actually shoot better than almost all.
Wow.
Yeah, because the boy is he has seen guns. Most of us, not only for film, they touch the gun. You understand what I'm saying? So we must shoot to our strength, and our biggest strength is our culture. If you look at the Indians, one thing I've noticed about the Indians is that they go everywhere in the world, they live everywhere in the world, but they don't drop their culture for 1 second, and they don't care what you think. In their movies, they dance for 40 minutes, and they will still keep dancing. They do some kind of funny effects that are completely unbelievable, and they don't care what you think, and we still see them. The whole world still see them.
That has been my evangelism ever since I became a media
person. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care what you think about it.
The moment you run away from your culture, it becomes something else.
You become empty. That is just it. Empty. So what we have here that we can sell, if we want to win Grammy, we want to win anything, it has to come from our culture.
Yeah.
It has to come from our culture. If you start speaking English like the American, you know, go feel work. We won't be able to do it like them.
You can't speak like them.
So
the main reason why people like Burna Boy, they are selling all over the world today.
It's because of what they are bringing from here.
Yeah.
That is just it. So about the issue of solving societal issues with films, every movie done that I do always tries to identify one social issue and treat it in a way that anybody seeing that film will always find a place to belong to. You must always find, if not directly, indirectly, you must always find a reason to, okay, this film is actually speaking to me. Because my characters are actually around me. Like right now, as I'm sitting down here now, I'm actually thinking about a script that I could do about an entire movie happening in a studio like this. Yes. Do you know, during COVID, some Nigerians did a film.
Of course I do. I know one or two of them.
Oh God, I felt, why didn't I even think? And we were just there at home thinking, waiting for COVID to end. And they did a movie, they didn't see each other. The movie was on Zoom. I don't know if you saw, I saw clips of the movie, and it was a brilliant idea.
So what's his name? I forgot his name. He's in the UK.
Oh.
He did a movie during that COVID time.
No, this one I'm talking about were Nigerians. So
okay.
This one, Nigerian guys on Zoom. Sometimes they will have network issues, they will come back the next day, and they did a very brilliant film.
Well, it's been so rich, so interesting talking to you. Last but not the least is, Nollywood is about low budget movie making. How has that helped the industry's growth?
I think we're actually gradually growing out of the low budget productions now. Years back, it would be difficult for you to approach somebody, because most of our investors are usually private. It would have been difficult, it would have been unheard of for you to meet somebody and say, I want to do a movie and I need 20 million. But now, I've actually met a couple of people who you will say 20 million and they were like, you sure say...
That won't be enough.
They're looking at you like, are you sure 20 million will do something good? So we are gradually getting out of that. But again, when people ask for high budget productions, they must also understand that it's a business, it's an industry, and we all play to the dynamics of the market. Yesterday, I was at a workshop where the Director General of the Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board made a revelation that none of us knew. He told us that there is still a very large market for DVDs in Nigeria. Oh, yeah. But some of us are thinking that everything is now either digital or online or nobody. But he said that every day, thousands of containers keeps getting dropped at the ports. And people you don't use, like he said, you don't use DVDs to cook soup. people are using them to watch movies.
Yeah.
So there are markets for them. So we must also understand the fact that why we want these high budget productions, everybody cannot go for high budget productions. Why? Because most of these high budget productions are targeted at sometimes the elites. It's either they are in the cinemas or you target the big streaming platforms that are in the country these days. But we also need the small ones that people can, because I won't do a high budget production and throw on YouTube unless you've actually made money from every other place. So everything depends on the market dynamics. Whether you're doing the bottom line is do a good film.
Okay.
Do a film that any way you take it to.
According to the size of your cloth.
Any way you won't have a small budget like some people do, and then you want to
think of high concept movies.
You want to shoot at the airport in a plane and all of that. No, just do the visual line. When I was coming up, the late Chikejuro, who was one of the people I met when I was growing then, used to tell me something. He said, do something, but do what makes sense. Don't use, because they say do something. You say you will now go out and be doing nonsense. No, look at what you have. From the point of the script, tell the writer, I have 10 naira. So don't start writing 10 Range Rovers. And then when you get to set, the characters already started dashing people 20 million, 200 million, and then you're driving a Toyota Camry. Because now that is what you now find yourself having. So from the point of the script, everybody come, I have just 10 naira. So this 10 naira is what we're going to manage to make a good film. So don't put a Range Rover. Write a story that a Corolla will work for. And then that is it. You find yourself having a very good product out there at the end of the day.
Yeah, this has been Film Talk. I've been talking to Aniedi Awah Noba. No, I want to remember Noba. He's a Nollywood storyteller, filmmaker, director, producer, screenwriter, and today's Film Talk has been loaded. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
I want to have you again.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right.